Well, that sucked. The Browns lost to the Ravens 28-3. Their defense came crashing down to earth. The DTR experience was not a good experience. And ultimately, the Browns go into the bye not on a big momentum rush of being 3-1, but being 500. And I'm going to be a little bit optimistic here and say if I told you before the year the Browns would come out of the first 4 weeks of the season 2-2 going into the bye, I think we'd all be pretty happy with that result. Now, let's kind of break down this game a little bit. We'll run through some of the stats here. And let's start with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He was 19 for 36, 121 yards, 3 interceptions. The last one came at the end of the game. I'm not going to really hold that against him. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson did a lot of damage on the ground and even through the air. The numbers might not show it, but he was very difficult to deal with today. 15 for 19, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Let's talk about the offense first, and then we're going to get to the defensive side of the football because there's plenty to discuss over there. Joe Woods was somewhere in Cleveland. I don't know where, but he was there, and the run defense played like it. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson, not good. That's my initial reaction. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was not good. I know the fun thing to do on Twitter is to blame the play calling and blame Kevin Stefanski. Here are things that are not Kevin Stefanski's fault. Kevin Stefanski did not ask Elijah Moore to run backwards 20 yards after getting a 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line. That's on execution. That's not the play call. That's an Elijah Moore trying to be a hero and not just going down with a 4-yard loss, but wanting to make something out of nothing and trying to go the length of the distance and ultimately cost the Browns 20 yards. That's not on Kevin Stefanski. Also not on Kevin Stefanski. The very next play, when Dorian Thompson-Robinson is well past the line of scrimmage and he does a forward lateral for a loss of down and a 5-yard penalty, not on Kevin Stefanski. Defense, missing tackles and letting Melvin Gordon look like peak Chargers Melvin Gordon, not on Kevin Stefanski. Sure, if you want to get mad at Kevin Stefanski because he got a bit cutesy with some of the play calls, had Harrison Bryant line up under center, okay. I'm actually not going to even agree with you on that, but I can at least see your train of thought. I can at least see your thinking of maybe he should have dumbed it down for his backup quarterback. But ultimately, that's my rebuttal would be he had his backup quarterback in. You can't run the same plays for Deshaun Watson as you're going to for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You got to find a spark somewhere. You got to get creative, right? You got to have the defense looking one way and go a different way. You can't put together a long manufactured drive with DTR at quarterback time after time after time. That's just not going to work. Dink and dunks with your backup QB are not going to put up enough points to beat the Ravens. So you got to get spicy, creative with it. And I don't have an issue with that. So great DTR's play against the Ravens. Are you going to put this all on Stefanski? DTR had bad throws. Like the interceptions. Take the last one out. He was trying to make a play, end of the game. It doesn't really matter. But the first 2 interceptions, he should have thrown more, honestly. He got lucky a couple of times that there were passes that were batted down instead of being caught. But trying to thread the needle on the first one, and the throw is a slant that's behind, gets tipped up, and it gets intercepted. And then the second one was to just, I don't know what he thought was, that was a Sam Darnold. I was seeing ghosts out there. I don't know what he saw, but he was clearly throwing to a spot where he thought a receiver would be, and no one was actually there. So, for me, I'd give DTR a D. Like, I didn't have a lot of confidence going into this game because Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a backup quarterback, and he was playing against a really tough Baltimore Ravens defense that is going to be physical. They're going to tackle. They're going to hit hard. And they're not going to play Pac-12 football that DTR went through the last couple of years or preseason defense this year. So give credit to the Ravens, honestly. You look at the Browns' offensive numbers through this loss, 166 total yards, 73 passing yards ultimately. The 25 carries for 93 yards is such a misleading number. Take the Pierre Strong Jr. stat out of that. Because ultimately, they really had 24 carries for 50 yards. They average about 2 yards a carry. Jerome Ford, 9 carries, 26 yards, a long of 10. Him and Kareem Hunt got nothing going on the ground. And listen, when the Browns lost Nick Chubb, I said this is going to take 2-3 weeks to try and put together a new game plan on the ground. We're at the 2-week mark, and you got a bye next week. Hopefully, coming out of the bye, Kevin Stefanski's able to put together a new idea for Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt and what they want to do moving into the 49ers game. At that point, you've had 3 weeks to move on from Nick Chubb. You got to figure it out. Some receiving leaders here. David Njoku, 6 grabs for 46 yards. Despite being questionable entering the day, he was the Browns' number 1 receiver. Elijah Moore, 2 receptions for 20 yards. I like Elijah Moore, but that 20-yard loss, it's wearing thin on me. Like, there's one too many times where Elijah Moore just doesn't take his medicine, right? Just doesn't dive to the ground and go, all right, that play is kind of a wash. Too often, I think there's almost a contagious element of well, Deshaun extends plays, so I want to extend plays. You're not Deshaun Watson. Stop it. Stop trying to play like Deshaun Watson. Just take the 2-yard loss. Don't run backwards. This goes for DPJ on punt returns, Elijah Moore here on the running plays, on the jet sweeps, and then DTR today. He did a good job of evading some pressure. Amari Cooper, he only had 1 grab for 16 yards, came in the 3rd quarter. He drew that pass interference that moved the Browns into position on their 2nd or 1st drive of the game in the 1st quarter, but the Ravens ultimately had a good defensive game plan. Give credit to Baltimore. People are going to come out of this game livid over how the Browns played. I think a lot of credit has to be given to the Ravens. They just played very well. They made it very difficult for the Browns to move the ball on offense. The Ravens' offensive line and running backs beat up a really good Browns defense. No, this does not mean the Browns have a fraud defense. I think it just means the Ravens played very well. Now, I have more to add to this on today's show, but first, today's Cleveland Browns Report is sponsored by AG1. Now, I have AG1 literally every day. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at drinkag1.com/chatsports. I recently gave AG1 a try because I hated taking pills/vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. It really helps me with starting my day on the right foot and getting into a healthier lifestyle. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more healthy decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day also couldn't be easier thanks to AG1. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water, drink it first thing in the morning, and it's done. It's also less than $3 a day, which is pretty good if you ask me. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then AG1 is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/chatsports. That's drinkag1.com/chatsports. I put that link for everyone in the comments and the description of today's video. Shout out to AG1 for supporting the Cleveland Browns Report. All right, let's get into some injury news here, and then we're going to talk about the defense. Ethan Posick left the game with a chest injury. He would later return just to suffer a knee injury, and then we saw Nick Harris the rest of the way. Kevin Stefanski right now speaking to the media said he expects Deshaun Watson to be back for the 49ers game following the bye. Myles Garrett, he left the game with a leg injury. His leg kind of got folded in an awkward direction, left leg. He would come back for a little bit. I think there's nothing to be too concerned with here, especially going into the bye, but that's definitely something you don't want to see, the heart and soul of your defense, without a doubt, Myles Garrett, leave the game at any point. The Ravens offensively, again, people want to say the Browns lost because Kevin Stefanski sucks as a coach and a play caller. No, the Browns lost because the Ravens played very well. They outplayed the Cleveland Browns today. Their offense put together 131 yards on the ground against a really good run defense. The Browns' run defense was not just, an illusion the first 3 weeks of the season. The Ravens just came into Cleveland and punched the Browns in the mouth. And Jim Schwartz's defense gave up 28 points, kind of I want to call it 21, just because the Lamar Jackson first touchdown, the Browns were backed up their own 10-yard line. So, I'm not going to hold that against Cleveland too much there. But ultimately, defense is so week to week, it's not easy to play at a very high level defensively as it is for an offense to play at a consistently high level, right? You don't get a couple bounces, you don't get a couple breaks your way, and you get, bulldozed 28-3. Lamar was really accurate I mean, that Mark Andrews pass he had where he was running to his right and he just like flips it over to his left, that was like a game-changing play in my opinion, right? If they don't complete that, Browns defense gets off the field and maybe it doesn't change the result to the game, right? Maybe the Ravens still win, but Baltimore does not drive down the field and put up 14-3 lead. So Lamar, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns to Andrews through the air. He had 2 on the ground. Jim Schwartz's defense is still elite. I'm not going to worry or panic. Jim Schwartz's defense is still awesome. It's still incredible. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about that. It's difficult to play high-level defense for 17 games. And Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback. But if you learn one thing from today's game, the Browns need Deshaun Watson. Like, there was a lot of people outside of the fan base and some people in the fan base that were like, DTR, DTR, DTR. That's, there it is. That's DTR. Like, that's a 5th-round pick rookie making his first start. That went about, not as I expected. Maybe I thought there'd be a little bit more. But my confidence out of 10 going into this game for DTR was at a 4. And we saw why. Like, he looked overwhelmed. He looked like he was not ready for a Baltimore Ravens AFC North type of rumble-tumble style of game. It was not playing Stanford or Cal. Like, it was a tough dogfight out there. Browns did not get going much offensively. The defense, unfortunately, came down to earth, but I'm not worried. I'm really not. The Browns are 2-2 going into the bye. They come out of the bye healthy with Deshaun Watson back at QB. They take care of business against the 49ers. That sets them up for some road games in Indianapolis and San Francisco, Indianapolis and Seattle, like teams that are very winnable games. I'm not too worried about this right now. The other good news I should add here, the silver lining to wrap up the show, is the Bengals might suck. The Bengals got boat raced by the Tennessee Titans. They lost big time. So the Ravens are at the top of the AFC North right now with a 3-1 record. But they are the biggest 3-1. They are the biggest fraudulent 3-win team in the NFL. The Steelers got destroyed against CJ Stroud and the Texans. So you come out of this going, yeah, we missed an opportunity to make up or to gain some ground in the division. But luckily, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh both lost against teams they were favored to beat. So had they won games, right, it would be the Steelers at 3-1. The Bengals at 2-2. The Browns at 2-2, tied for last in the division. Instead, it's very close still. There's a lot of football left. It is week 4. It's October 1st. I'm not panicking. All right, that's going to do it for us on our post-game show today. If you enjoyed the post-game show, by the way, subscribe to the channel because we continue to grow here at the Cleveland Browns Report. I want to reach 25,000 subscribers before the start of the next game against the 49ers. So help me accomplish that goal by subscribing down below. And we're going to sign off and see you guys later.